Ever wonder why some people thrive under pressure while others break? It's not luck, it's science. Welcome to the Mind Performance Podcast. I'm Lindsay Paoli, a therapist and a mental performance strategist. Each episode, you'll get expert insights, real stories from high performers, and small shifts that lead to big results, so you can be better at what matters. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Mind Performance Pod. I'm your host, Lindsay Paoli, and today I am so excited to welcome a new guest and old friend of mine, Lisa Malia Norman. Lisa is a women's health and wellness leader and educator, a breast cancer survivor and mama, feminine wisdom and embodied leadership coach, nonprofit CEO, and founder of Evoke Feminine Leadership Institute. She helps people connect their innate wisdom, trust their intuition and embody their sacred purpose so they can step into matriarchal leadership to access a life of deep satisfaction, clarity, and unapologetic joy. That's a mouthful. I love it. Welcome, Lisa. So good to see you.
Lindsay, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm glad that we're doing this mostly so we can catch up again. It's so good to see you.
How long has it been since we met? We met at the Pitch Club years ago.
Gosh, was that 4 years ago? Maybe. It feels like a lifetime. I feel like I've known you so long, but I think it might have only been 4 years ago.
Yeah. But so much has changed, I think, for both of us, just growing.
Yeah.
And so we reconnected recently on a post of mine where I'm sharing it's supposed to be like a cheeky becoming a housewife day in the life type series.
I love it.
And I'm kind of exploring what it is to be a housewife versus the grinding corporate leader or even entrepreneur. And Lisa stepped in and made a comment because I think I mentioned, I was like battling the typical feminine role. And Lisa, obviously, like the ultimate embodiment of feminine energy and leaning into natural, nurturing feminine energy, was like, hang on, let's consider this. And so I was really excited to welcome her on to talk about what true feminism looks like, what matriarchy versus patriarchy looks like. And especially in this year, I've said consistently, I think there is something so big shifting with just the culture in general, with the masculine and the feminine, between everything happening in politics and it being a fire horse year. Like there is just something big on the horizon. And I think women are just going to step in and do it. And so I'm excited for you to educate us, to kind of empower us.
I'm so excited. I love that you're feeling this. It's such a fun conversation, right? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm on the journey too, right? I'm feeling all that energy and tuning into what all that means. And I think what caused me to step in is something that I'm seeing a lot is that this desire for women to want to embody their femininity. It is a calling. It is a rising. We've been working and activating this energy for a long time. And then what happens is the patriarchy steps back in and tries its old tricks again to convince you that this softness is born out of your fatigue and it is born out of the over hustling and over grinding you did when you were trying to break glass ceilings and all those things. Yeah. And that's, again, the patriarchy working its way in. And I do want to make sure we keep the distinction between masculine energy and patriarchy because they are different things. Masculine energy isn't inherently bad. Patriarchal systems are.
Cool. And keep going. Yeah.
And you don't have to be a man to exhibit patriarchal behaviors. And I see that happening. And so I just really try to massage the script so that we aren't abandoning all those rights we gained because of femininity and because of feminism, and that we get to now redesign it. And that's the gift that we're getting right now, with seeing some of these patriarchal systems starting to be exposed and collapsed and really finding our new footing, like little Bambi on ice, because we haven't done this before, but we've almost got free reign and permission to reclaim this and really tap into what our feminine really wants to say, what she is really craving, and what wants to be born right now. And fire horse energy, like it just gets me fired up. Because it's community, it's collaboration, right? Horses are pack animals and they rely on each other. Their peripheral vision is they look at the whole, they're part of the collective. You see who's running by your side, and it's heart driven. It is, the pounding of hooves on the ground in community, heart-centered, very courageous forward motion, but we're not doing it alone like we did in The Year and the Snake. So I think all of this is just incredible timing. And I'm just so happy you were open to the conversation, because I will blab to anybody who will listen.
No, I love it. I'm literally tearing up. Like, you are speaking so beautifully. And I'm like, this is like something to aspire to. And you are describing it like I'd never thought of horses being pack animals. And this is all just beautiful. And I feel like you are such an embodiment of this. I'm really, really glad to have this conversation. And yeah, I'm a little fragile today. I don't know why. I think I'm coming over a sickness. And also, it's Ash Wednesday. So if you're watching on the YouTube, I have my ashes. And so I'm just feeling like really open to whatever is meant to come today. So you made a really good point, and I'd like you to help clarify, how can we distinguish between masculinity and the patriarchy? How are the two different?
So masculine is an energy. Patriarchy is a system. And so the system of patriarchy is very extractive, very singularly driven, doesn't necessarily take the whole into its perspective. It's a winner takes all. It's what makes us believe there's only one seat at the table for a woman. It's not collaborative. It's centering success of a metric over all else. And it's got a history of oppression and, at all costs, right? So in order for someone to succeed, someone else must suffer. And it's really just the basis of that system and the way that it operates in that way. And it has, it draws in men and women, right? Like, it doesn't discriminate. And so sometimes you will see, a woman making it to the top and making it all the way there, but we all know what she had to do to get there. It was hard work. She had to work twice as hard to get half as far, make half as much, and that's not a system that's centering woman or life or energy in any way. She had to sacrifice a lot to get there.
So then what does feminine energy look like?
Well, matriarchy as opposed to patriarchy?
Well, yeah. So I guess there's the difference between feminine and masculine, and then patriarchy and matriarchy. So I guess since we already described patriarchy, what would matriarchy look like? And has it ever been the standard?
Yeah, not in our lifetime, not in living memory, not in any sort of historical data. You'd have to go pretty far back to find it. And I am obsessed with cultures that honored matriarchy back in the day. And, you mostly hear about it in myths and legends, and it's hard to believe that perhaps it was real at one point. Matriarchal energy centers life. It is the life force giving energy of the feminine, and it centers all of life. It centers earth wisdom and children at its center. So the collective is, again, with that horse wisdom, having that periphery that women do, we are able to see the collective and how the different parts play into each other and how what we're doing impacts others, so that we can make sure that we are having the aligned impact, having the actual outcomes that we desire manifest, because we take all those things into consideration. And that really is the brilliance of the feminine. And when we do that from a matriarchal framework, we are able to embody our own sacred purpose, where none of us have to try and do it all, right? We are each taking responsibility for our sacred purpose, on weaving our thread into that tapestry, to that blanket that benefits the whole.
Yeah. I mean, that would be an amazing shift, I think, politically for us, if our systems were to embrace that kind of a change. We've jumped right in. And
yeah, we did.
Of course. I'm like,
also, how are you?
But I'm like, yeah, hi, how are you? Tell us about you. I still have a ton of questions, but yes, let's do a little bit of background. Tell me about you. How did you end up in this role?
Yeah. I think I've always been very spiritual, I guess, connected to an outside divinity outside of me, very much felt it in my body. raised in a very systematic religion, I think that many people can relate to, that felt like I was always trying to stuff myself into a box that I didn't fit in. And really, once I became pregnant and having children, that's when I really first tapped into, and the lightning bolts went off about the wisdom that my body carries, right? I didn't need a book to tell me how to grow a baby, right? I mean, there are just some things that are very intuitive.
There's plenty of them, though.
Yes, exactly. Right. I mean,
which is confusing.
Right. And it's wonderful information to have. But I just knew that there was something in my body that it was so wise, right? We are wise, innate creatures. And what if I stopped outsourcing all of that wisdom and really tuned in to ask my body first, to listen to my body first, and communicate with self first? And, then I can cross verify over other information. But that's what drew me into midwifery, and really listening very intimately to women with women, and understanding that I wasn't alone in this, and how many similarities we have, and how much we've suppressed within us, and how much magic exists within us when we can tap into it. And it just became basically an obsession of mine, of thinking like, why don't more people know this, right? And then later on in life, fast forward, circumstances of life, I was working in a very masculine driven environment, tech, because I was a divorced single mom. I had to go out and get a quote unquote real job. Being an on-call midwife just didn't fit being a single mom.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
3 daughters. Yeah. And they were still in school.
Which I feel like is also so divide for you to have 3 girls, of course.
Right? They are women now, though. They're like 20s and 30s, and I cannot believe it. It's so wild. But I've raised some really cool women, and I just love it so much. But then, so during that process, I was doing all the grinding, just trying to survive, pay the bills, keep the lights on, food on the table, like all the things. And I was fighting with my body every single day to get up and do that thing. And I made myself sick. And I knew I was making myself sick. And my intuition was just pounding at me like, Lisa, you got to stop. This isn't for you. You've got to do something else. And I did what I call negotiating with my intuition, where I was like, yeah, but not yet. Cause when this one graduates high school, we'll sit down and then we can talk and get myself back on track. But the universe had a different plan. And I got diagnosed with breast cancer during that time. I think I was just under so much stress that, my body was ripe to not be able to defend against such things at a very young age. I was 42.
Wow.
And it brought me right back to all those same messages of what happens when you aren't listening to your body and when you're fighting it, what is innately within you. I trusted my intuition on my diagnosis and my treatment plan, and worked with doctors and teams until they believed me. And I think just believing women in their health, and, the medical gaslighting that happens, like these are just all these systems that I was exposed to, where I was like, but hang on a minute. What's really happening here? And I found that was like a lot of the same themes. And I don't think you need to go through necessarily all those major pivotal moments to tap in to that wisdom that's in you. And I think that's where I became more obsessed of like, well, what if I'm able to just do this all the time? I don't have to be in childbirth or, facing a life-altering diagnosis. What if I just made this my way of life, and there were other women that wanted to do this too?
Yeah. Can we stick with the cancer for just a moment? Because we now know that it's, I think, 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer. And you've kind of alluded to knowing you were making yourself sick, and then even said that you had to negotiate your diagnosis with professionals. Were people not believing that you, did you sense you had breast cancer and people weren't believing you?
So a couple things are happening there. I think we do have an epidemic of toxicity happening in female bodies. I think breast cancer is happening for younger and younger women all the time. And I also see endometrial problems, a lot of more young women facing endometrial issues. I think there's so many things at play with how toxic the patriarchy has become that are living out in our bodies. And it's
interesting that these are both reproductive organs that we're getting cancer in, right?
Yeah. I've always said that our breasts are like the canaries of the coal mines. They're an indication of how healthy our communities are. And I think the same thing goes for our young women that are having, I would say, an epidemic of endometriosis.
Yeah. And like you said, younger and younger with the breast cancer diagnosis. I had a friend who was diagnosed at 27 years old and had to battle cancer. And it's a wild thing to see your community. You know, you hear about it when you're a kid and then starting to see people around you.
Yeah.
I've had clients with breast cancer and they said similar things. A lot of them have said similar things where they knew they were making their body sick or they knew they were so stressed. And that's something that Dr. Gabor Mate talks about in When the Body Says No, is the prevalence of breast cancer when we internalize so many things or when we're not free to speak or, you know, we tend to emotionally stifle in order to fit in or climb the ladder or whatever it might be. So
yeah,
it's interesting to hear from somebody who has had the experience that you felt the same way.
And I think all those things are true. And I also try to be a little bit careful because I don't think anybody gives themselves this, right? But I do think it creates the conditions where something like this can be possible. And I definitely created the right conditions in my body for a cancer to be able to manifest and grow. That level of stress. We know stress affects the body. There's no denying that, right? And so I think everything 100%. That you just spoke to, you know, science will catch up, of course, that has an impact on us. All that energy does.
And candidly, I'm asking because, I mean, I'm reviewing a lump in my breast as we speak with a doctor. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, let's continue with mammograms. And so I'm very personally interested in hearing all of this. And I know if I am, then I'm certainly not the only one, especially with as prevalent as it is.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you asking that. And thank you for sharing that too, because I think it's a conversation that most women aren't having. Or non-binary folks with breasts that are not in spaces where those conversations are happening. Maybe their family doesn't talk about it. Maybe, you know, their friends, it's not coming up. And so I'm really happy to initiate those conversations and offer talking points. For me, I had dense breast tissue. And my mom is also a 2-time breast cancer survivor. So I thought I was somebody who was pretty well informed. Also, I was a midwife in women's health. And so I thought I had a good grasp on women's health and breast cancer and what that process and what I was looking for. I was never able to feel a lump in my breasts. I was told I had dense breast tissue. So 50% of women have dense breast tissue. So it's really critical that we start to understand what that means. Yeah. It is a risk factor. You are more likely to be able to develop breast cancer if you have dense breasts. On top of that, it makes it almost impossible to be found on a mammogram. And so a new standard of care has finally been released. So this is across the US now. There are still some states, other benefits that vary state by state, but the one thing that should be happening nationally is being informed of your breast density. And if you are stage 3 or 4, you should be getting a supplemental screening, and that would be an ultrasound or an MRI. That isn't happening across
stage 3 or 4 of density.
Yeah, so there's 4 stages of density, and which is also something that is important to understand. So if you are in the higher density categories, extremely dense, you definitely need that ultrasound or that MRI follow-up to be able to have an accurate screening. Otherwise, your mammogram can only tell you you have dense breast tissue, but it may say things like, no evidence of cancer. Well, of course not. It can't see it. So don't get like a false sense of security from that statement. You absolutely have to advocate for more. I will share with you my story in that they found a very, very small area of cancer right underneath the skin of my nipple, which is thin skin. So that's the only reason they were able to see it. I went through all the process. It's breast cancer. We're going to go, you know, they're offering me a lumpectomy and tamoxifen and radiation. But I knew I had dense breasts, and I knew that I had done a massive amount of research. I knew my mother's history, and I agonized over this decision for a really long time. But I said, a lumpectomy is not for me. I need a double mastectomy. And I was talked out of that so many times, being told that I'm being too extreme. I don't really need that. I'm still young. You should keep your breasts. But it didn't sit right in my body. And I had to eventually fire my entire medical team, started over from scratch, started interviewing multiple doctors. I can't even tell you how many until I found one that said, okay, let's do the double mastectomy. That's fine.
Yeah.
And
isn't that crazy that we have to fight so much harder for our decisions over our own bodies?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
What do they care?
Yeah. Right. And
what do they care whether you keep your breasts or not?
Right. Right. And so exactly, it's none of their business. Just treat me, please.
Yeah.
And what happened, I was confident in that choice, no matter what the results of the pathology after that surgery was. I just knew that I wanted that peace of mind of knowing that I didn't have to keep screening. My breasts were extremely dense. My mother had breast cancer in both of her breasts as well, diagnosed like 5 years apart because they did only give her a single mastectomy to start with. And then she went through it all again 5 years later. It isn't that common, but it's more common than you think to have it come back in the second breast.
Yeah. And I think seeing it with your mother too would probably inform a lot of what, not wanting to go through that, because it's not like this is an easy journey. It's a super anxious, terrifying journey. So to have to do it twice is not fun for anybody.
No, thank you so much for saying that. It was front of my mind. But I will say that I got a confirmation not everybody gets when my surgeon called me after the pathology report came back, and she asked me, she said, you need to sit down for this. I was like, okay.
They found more.
And I was sitting down, except for when she said that, I jumped up and started pacing. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, so the right breast where they knew there was a small amount of breast cancer, and the healthy breast, which was my left breast, she said, was actually loaded. And those were her exact words. It was loaded with breast cancer that they never saw in any of the screening.
And you knew it and you fought for it. Ugh. Yeah. That's so powerful.
Yeah. I'm really grateful that I found somebody who would eventually listen and give me that opportunity. And I just know that my outcome would have been very different had I not had that. And that's what keeps me up at night. And that's why I do the work that I do, because I'm lucky. I got lucky.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't luck, though. It was intuition and advocacy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something I hear women ask all the time is, how do you listen so intently to your body? Like, how did you know to stand up for yourself and going against experts of, what does it feel like in your body to know and to stand up for yourself? Because that's something I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
So hopefully you are able to give some tips as to how to better listen to ourselves and follow that instinct.
Yeah. It's a really great question because it isn't always easy. I mean, at the time, I thought I was going to lose my mind. It was very stressful. Yeah. You're trying to take in a lot of information. You're getting conflicting opinions. And then you've got all the people that care about you that just want you to do something, and they want you to be well and, get back to normal and all the things. And I think for me, at the end of the day, I got as much information as I could to understand as much as I could, and then had to accept that I'm never going to understand all of it, quite frankly, and that I need to make a choice. And for me, that choice at the end of the day was what will give me the most peace at the end of the day? What will allow me to actually sleep at night, knowing that I did the best that I could with the information that I had, understanding that all of that can change. But today I need to make a choice that gives me the most peace. And that's honestly what it came down to. But I had to remind myself and ask that question again and again and again until I found somebody that said, yes, that is what you deserve, and we can give you that.
Yeah.
And I also recognize that I have a tremendous amount of privilege to be able to go and find that.
And to fight for it. And yeah.
And again, that's what gave me, what are people without that type of access and those conversations and that opportunity to fight for something different? What are they doing, right? Where are they having those conversations? How can we empower them and give them access to, make better choices, better informed decisions?
Yeah. Which I think ties in a little bit to your work. You're very much an advocate. And as we heard in the bio, just a pillar for women, really. So tell us a little bit about your work and what you do.
Well, I love women. I think we're phenomenal. We are just we're so badass. We're just, right? Like we can really just, when we come together, It's phenomenal what can be done when we come together and really see each other, when we get to drop like all the worldly things and just see each other in our magic and our power and our medicine, and create opportunities to just really be ourselves and connect and lift each other up and love the shit out of each other. Like, it's, God, I mean, that's the world I see. And those are the women I see. Like, I see your crown. I see, I just love to commune with that part of women and have that level of community and care and really feeling seen, I think is important. And I think when we're able to do that for each other and allow that to seep into our leadership and into our communities and into our businesses, there's really nothing we can't do. And so developing frameworks for that has been my life's work, creating opportunities for that life of ritual, that ability to tune into that intuitive part of you, to trust it, not silence it. It is wisdom that needs to be seen, felt, heard, and trusted. And so I believe women, I trust women, and the more women that are trusting themselves and putting it out into the world, even as messy and weird as it is at first, because it's a little bit uncomfortable maybe if you're not used to expressing yourself in that way, but I see a real desire for it now. And I think it's okay to just let ourselves be a little bit messy as we figure this out and love each other through it.
I love that, because as you're saying this, I'm like, oh, I'm very new to the magic of women. I'm like, to exploring the magic of women. I think that I've been very much in my masculine, even after having left corporate, in trying to win and compete. And it's only been recently that I've also leaned into, we're different and not better, but when we become different, it's better than when we try to not. When we try to be whatever patriarchy is putting us into a role of, right? I feel like we're so much better when we become magical and think differently and expand the spaces that we come into. And I'm just now like dabbling into that. And so even just talking to you, I think too, I'm like, this is why I wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah.
We talked about the matriarchy and the patriarchy. Can you tell us the difference between, I guess, like the natural masculine and feminine? And then I know there's like a wounded masculine and feminine, and how that also shows up. Is that too much?
Not too much. Let's see here. I touched a little bit on it in sort of the toxic patriarchal manifestation of what some of that can look like. But, as a man, sacred masculine energy, sometimes referred to as divine masculine. I don't even know that we need to call it that, because if it's the masculine just in its purest form, as in the feminine in its purest form, it is divinely good already.
Yeah.
And it is a good state, and it offers, we all offer something different. We all have a little bit of both in us. But I think when we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to really embody the full medicine of that energy, we can really support each other in really beautiful, beautiful ways.
Yeah.
And the masculine, you'll hear all kinds of metaphors, right? It's the stone, and the feminine is the water, right? And you've got the stones along the bank that hold the river so that it can flow in a particular direction and have movement and give life. And both are really important.
Yeah.
And I think those analogies can play out in so many different ways. But I think ultimately the trust needs to be there, trusting masculine energy. And again, masculine energy, trusting feminine energy and feminine wisdom. And that's where we break down.
Yes, that is blowing my mind, because I think that there is definitely not trust from either.
No.
And I think that's also kind of like where I'm exploring my own journey right now, is like, I'm trusting him to take care of things that I felt like I needed to do on my own, because there was so much mistrust in my family in the past, and in my own story with men and finances. And so this is where I get caught up. Like, I want to say provide, but I feel like then that becomes so like 1950s, like then it puts me in the kitchen. I want to be that. But is that like how, I guess that's what I'm getting at. What does the divine masculine carry? Like, what roles, I guess, do they have, or what characteristics do they have versus the feminine? is it as simple as they, go hunt and bring all the food and we cook it?
Mhm.
They go in, make all the money, and we keep the house? Because I feel like that I can't do that.
Right. These are really good questions. And I think that this is the part where we get to offer ourselves lots of grace for trying to figure it out from a new way, right? So yes, in typical structures, and there's nothing wrong with saying it's, the very 1950s versus now, and nothing less liberated about it to say that your man is a provider or is offering income to support the household. But again, it comes back to that trust piece, trusting what you have agreed to, right? These are agreements that you're not making. These aren't have-tos and have-tos and, no oppression, none above the other, as far as coming together with some agreements of what's good for the whole, and him finding trust in you as far as maybe how those funds are being used and what the family needs and how you're going to contribute to the community and to your extended family. So there's definitely roles within that structure to create trust and to have a lot of respect inherently incorporated into that.
Yeah. Even as you were saying that, it made me realize that maybe my dislike of the roles is because trust was broken along the way. Like maybe there's nothing wrong. I mean, I know plenty of stay-at-home wives. There's nothing wrong with the way they live. I think my knee-jerk reaction to it is maybe some mistrust along the way from the societal push to be different. Does that make sense?
It does. It does, because
we're deep in my head right now.
Yeah, no, because it almost goes against everything that we've kind of fought for, right? So now you're going, okay, now I achieved this, and now am I like just giving it away, everything that I fought for? And or maybe this is what I was fighting for, right? This is a different way for this
that's where I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
100% I'm feeling like I fought really hard to be in a place in my relationship where I can trust him to do what he is best at, and I will do what I enjoy the most, which is being home and spending time with the kids and finding community. It's so interesting you say that too, because that's all I want to do here. We're in a new location and all I want to do is like create our circles. And so, this is all making sense.
Yeah, that is survivability. That is what the feminine is genius at, right? You help us live and exist and survive, and we are pack animals. We need community. So however you need to frame that, and he's putting his trust in you to keep the family alive, and that's a huge role, and especially when it's done with partnership and trust, and you're going to do all the smart things and have access to know where the money is going, how it's being spent, where you're investing, how you're in the 50s we didn't even think about those things. We had no idea where the husband might have been stashing money and all those things, and certainly we're fighting for other things like the right to vote and such. So it's we get to take a lot of those lessons and those benefits and carry it forward and reshape how we want that to exist right now. And this is also an era of the life that you're in. Of course, you are nurturing the next generation of humans on this planet. And it's vital that you're able to give that your attention. And what a blessing that you get to do that for your immediate family, but also for your community. The impact that that's having there is huge. And you don't get a chance to go back and do that. This is happening right now in real time. And
I realize how, I say I know so many stay-at-home moms, but like I also was raised where dual income was the only option. So I feel very privileged to even be in a position to do this now. And so I never want to shit on it and talk badly about it, because like this was not even a close reality for anybody that I knew growing up. And so we're in a very different space, I think, that I'm able to do this. You were a single mom, so what would you have given to not have to think about all of those things,
right.
The income. So I realize also what a privilege it is for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And what a system reset for you too, right? So you need this time. What you're doing is no small thing for you to recalibrate your nervous system, find that sense of worth and importance in what you're doing and claiming that, but also as you're exploring these things of feminine magic and women's wisdom and your wisdom and what that means as far as your contributions to the world right now, it's what you're doing, and it's wonderful, and it's right on time, and keep doing it. Like the world needs Lindsay Paoli doing this, right? You're leading the way and giving other women permission to take that time to really understand the messages that are coming through you right now.
Yeah, I've been surprised at how many people have responded about what I thought was just going to be this cheeky little joke. And they're like, no, keep talking about it, because it's like opening me up, or these are things that I wish I could say, or it's the amount of feedback I've gotten has kind of blown me away. And so now I'm like, oh, well, I've dug my own hole and I have to keep going.
Well, I love that you're doing it and that you're bringing the community in. And I think it just really speaks to how intuitive you are, and that you're not alone in this, right? I think there's a lot of women crying out to explore these themes and understand what it means, and we're going to figure it out together.
Yeah. So we didn't get to the answer of like how you work in this space. Obviously, if you're listening, she has the best voice and has an amazing podcast, and you just feel like you're just a big warm hug. But how do you work with people? If people were interested in working with you, what does that look like?
Thank you for asking. So aside from my nonprofit, which is for the love of cups.org, and always reach out. Just first of all, know that I am an open book. You need a resource, please reach out, message me in any platform. I will probably respond regarding breast cancer or, partnerships in any direction in that way. And as far as the feminine wisdom goes, which I have a private practice, I've formed the Feminine Leadership Institute. We have an online community, loads of free resources to go and download, all about the feminine framework, making life as ritual, joining the community, because it's always about women coming together. So I have a 9-month mastermind with a couple retreats incorporated if you're looking for a larger container. But we also have lots of online things happening, breathwork rituals that we time everything to the new moon, my intention planner, like it's a whole life. Come dive in, start small and then dig deeper with me. But we have a 8-month journey starting soon, the Midlife CEO, for exactly this type of conversation, just making that transformation in ourselves and in our lives. And with all this energy and momentum that we have now, just getting curious and seeing how we can evolve together and have the impact that we are born to have, and make it happen. So
I love that. You said start small and then dive in deeper. And one of the first things that I ever did when I met you was your feminine leadership archetype quiz, which I encourage everybody to take. I need to retake it. Is it something that you think that changes as you evolve? Or do you think that you're like born with it and then lean into that?
So here's the thing. I don't think your archetype changes, but I do think your era changes, right? Your maiden, crone, mother energy, queen energy. I do remember that you came up as the midwife. I don't remember your secondaries, but I love it so much because I'm also the midwife as my primary archetype. And I love how the same archetype can manifest a little bit differently, but the core value is the same in what you do and what you're doing now in your life. It's like, it's all still so classically midwife energy that I really adore.
Explain that. What is midwife energy?
Well, she really holds the cycles of life and death and rebirth and in witnessing, and is such a protector of community and family and tradition. And I think that you really carry that in such a really powerful and beautiful way.
I think when I first took it, I was like, well, that's not accurate at all. But I think now I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I'll send it to you again and you can take a look at the description of it.
I think at the time I was like, this is something I would more aspire to, but not that I would relate to. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely the energy.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it should feel like something that feels a little bit big of like, ooh, am I really capable of that? And yeah, you are.
But that's also like that feminine magic that you were talking about, I think.
Yeah.
What else do people need to know? Is there anything that we have not covered that I feel like, especially in this year of the fire horse, as things are shifting, and I'm seeing even so many men talking about women, like it's time for us to let you take charge. what else comes up for you just to prepare all of our female listeners for this year and to empower them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really think it's about community, however you can build it and whoever you can start to have these conversations with, whether you need to join them or create them, talk to your neighbors, find your people. This is going to be about finding your women and finding your people and giving yourself a place to explore these conversations and what these themes look like and how they might translate in your life. I think sometimes when you're evolving in a way, you feel like, I don't know who I can talk to about this. It feels a little bit weird. Yeah. Are they going to think I'm weird? And so creating a sandbox for yourself, it might just be one girlfriend to start with. It might be online somewhere, but I think the more in-person human connections we can have versus online, I think it really exponentially be beneficial. And so I think that is the key. And personally, and privately in your daily practices and your rituals, I think giving yourself an opportunity to really tune into yourself, whether it's, whether or not it's something you can do once a day, at least do it once a week for yourself. Really tune into the messages of your body and your voice that want to be spoken now. I think we've been suppressing so much individually and collectively, and so much being brought out that I know that many of us have held in our bodies for a long time, really discerning and allowing yourself what wants to be spoken and allowing it to come through in some way.
Yeah. I think that you're spot on that social media and the online space is great for what it is, but it's not the ultimate connection. As you were saying that, I was like, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm going through this entire transition and just sharing with the world. Do not recommend. Or even just in this conversation, it's the first time I've said out loud to anybody other than my husband that we're exploring a lump in my breast. It's so easy to, I guess for some, to open up when it's like behind the guise and protection of being online.
Yeah.
But an easy connection is not a good connection. And so being in the habit of saying these things in the energy of a real person, I think is such a big shift that we don't talk about nearly enough because online is so accessible and makes us all feel so good. But you're right. Then we have all of these surface level conversations or relationships with people where you leave and you're like, we didn't even talk about anything.
I think you brought up something really important, and I would like to circle back if you're okay with it.
Yeah, of course.
Because what you're doing is giving people an icebreaker. Sometimes people need the icebreaker. And what I would say is if somebody is craving a relationship or a conversation like this and they're not sure how to start it, taking something like this podcast or one of your posts and sharing it with somebody and saying, hey, I found this really interesting and I'd love to find somebody I can jam out with and talk about this with.
Yeah.
Are you open to it? Does this interest you? And have an intentional conversation around the thing. And I think what I love so much about podcasts like this is that these conversations are intentional. We're not here for small talk. Like we're going to get right into it and start, we dig deep really quickly because it's an intentional conversation. We set the stage, we set the intention, and we were eager to dive in. And I think when you do that in real life as well, I think it opens the same thing up.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Well, thank you so much. This has been an incredible conversation. I feel like it went so quickly and I want to just sit here and keep listening to your voice. What else can we talk about?
Oh my gosh. I adore you so much. I really hope we get to hang in person soon.
I know. Where are you? You're in Washington? Where are you?
I'm in the West Coast. I'm currently in Oregon, but I am in
I know you travel.
Seattle a lot. I'll be in Southern California next week. Yeah.
So all of them. I was right. All of them.
That's it. The West Coast is home.
Yeah. And now I'm so far on the East Coast. I was actually thinking we met through Rebecca Caffiero.
Yeah.
And I'll be going to Italy this summer. And I told her that we should meet. And that would be a really cool in-person podcast. So throwing that out there for you, Rebecca.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, I love that.
But getting us together is somebody else is going to have to do some sort of a mastermind or something.
Yeah. Let's do it.
See. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Lindsay.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on here and educating us and initiating these conversations for women and being so open about your story and just sharing so vulnerably on something that I think again, so many women will kind of tiptoe around before ever actually talking about. So thank you for being so candid about your breast cancer journey and just your history in general. And I'd love to have you back. I feel like we could have a whole other podcast on that.
Yeah, we could. I'm happy to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And until next time, guys, I'll see you next Tuesday. Don't forget to leave a review. Be sure and follow Lisa at, where can they best follow you? Where can they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram. Those are probably the best and easiest places to find me at lisamalia.evoke and Lisa Malia Norman on LinkedIn.
All right. Have a great afternoon. See you next Tuesday. Thanks for listening to the Mind Performance Pod. If you got value today, make sure to subscribe and leave a quick review. It really helps others find the show. As a thank you, grab your free Mind Fundamentals Compounding Consistency Habit Tracker at the bottom of the homepage on lindsaypaoli.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Mind Performance Pod for tips, updates, and behind-the-scenes content. Can't wait to see you in the next episode.